Yo, yo, yo! New day, new duel! It's actually officially past midnight, so I probably shouldn't be talking too loudly, but, yeah, I'm here to find out, essentially, what I think about Samurai Champloo, because I still don't have Samurai Shampoo. I still haven't actually gotten around to finding out I've actually seen the ending now. I've just binged the entire thing last night, and I've had the entire day at work to just like fucking think. And the reason why is that it's weird because I really love this story. I really love the fucking vibes. The music is fucking immaculate. Like, the vibes alone is probably like half of my enjoyment of this entire show. And I fucking love it for that. But also, I think I've come to the conclusion that I like the show a lot for a lot of the same reasons that I like Red Dead Redemption of all things. Because on the surface, these guys have nothing to fucking do with each other. One is like an old ass Japanese fucking anime about samurais walking around aimlessly, and the other is about fucking god shit, and the other is about some cowboys running from the law. But essentially, what it boils down to is that they're both about, like, just a group of people, a group of misfits that have banded together, just trying not to change in a world that forces them to change. God damn it. And I really don't know why. I'm a fucking sucker for that very specific type of story. Another thing, I do now have Red Dead 1 in my possession, and I have not played it. I've had it for like 2 weeks, and I haven't touched the thing, which is a shame. But that's how shiz goes. But I fucking love this thing. It's just the ending that is still kind of weird to me, because the thing is, all these guys, all our main characters, mainly Mugen and Jin, the two actual samurai, the third main character just being like a normal fucking girl. I don't know. I also don't know my feelings about her, but essentially, Mugen and Jin has had death flags on them for, like, from day one. Like, I don't know if I talked about this, but I expected them both to die at some point, like, at least one of them to die at some point in the story, most likely at the very end, and it just ended up being like a bittersweet story about, like, okay, maybe they actually get to fight each other at the end, then one of them dies, one of them goes on with their adventure, with their, essentially, where they started. The ending is the start type beat. But it's not. It didn't turn out that way. They didn't even, like, they didn't even kill each other. They didn't even, like, they barely fought. But of course they did fight, and it was like kind of symbolic, type beat where both of their swords crack the fucking second they touch. Like, they're almost destined to not fight each other at this point, or like they're fucking, I don't know, some gay shit, like their souls are intertwined, and they cannot force themselves to, I don't know, some shit. And they also just kind of, they just have a heart-to-heart after all that happens. I should probably talk about what actually happens. So, you know, a bunch of just random fucking story arcs later. Again, I like the vibes of Samurai Champloo, mainly because it's just like, it's more a slice of life than anything. It reminds me a lot of, not Trigun, but Cowboy Bebop, well, also Trigun, actually. Where it's some guys with, like, weird, mysterious pasts that are just trying to survive, and they're running from something that we don't know, and we don't get to know until the very end. Yeah, and shit, I don't know. The God damn it. Trying to think a while, think of what I want to say, what I want to. I don't even know where I'm going with this, but Samurai Champloo, generally, overall, fucking goated. Don't get me wrong. I fucking loved this show. I'm just trying to figure out how much. Because again, I'm sorry, but I'm just a sucker for those very specific stories about, you know, being forced to change. For example, with the Red Dead, again, not to spoil, but there is, you know, a certain someone who dies at the end, that you probably have been spoiled on, but if in case, do not. I'm not gonna spoil it here. A certain someone dies, and that has a very fucking big impact on the entire story, and it pretty much wraps up like the entire theme of, okay, yeah, whether you like it or not, society is gonna move on without you. And I figured out from like watching just, you know, the end this morning, pretty much, is that this is what the entire story has been about, is like being forced to change, and like whether it's worth it to try and resist that. Because in the end of Red Dead, of course, there is this fucking character death that pretty much confirms that no, it is, you know, it might be worth it, but it's not. It's probably not. It's better to just change. Whether you like it or not, it's better to change. Whereas this one, Samurai Champloo, it takes kind of the opposite approach. Again, this all depends on how you interpret it, of course. Both endings. But it essentially ends with them going, just beating the big bad guys and going their separate ways. Of course, with the help of a little bit of plot armor, but that's fine. So essentially, I just remember back on like every single one of these little slice of life thingies, and it just shows how's like it's the dynamic between being, you know, just being yourself, being like free as you have always been, right? And the, you know, basically the fucking very alluring, like, offer that the government is making you, like, you know, the government is basically society, pretty much, not just the government. I also really like the fact that we get, like, I think both Mugen and Jean is wanted, mostly Jean is wanted by the Shogun, but we don't even get to see the Shogun at any point. And I think that is a nice touch, because it just shows how small and irrelevant Jean and Mugen are compared to, like, the rest of the country. But that also just reinforces like the entire theme of just, you know, basically individual freedom. That is a big word, but just I need to not die to mauling. That would be embarrassing. God damn it, bro. What was I saying? I don't know. But basically, the entire show is like different, them interacting in different ways with people who have also been changed, like been forced to change, and the ways they have been changing. For example, they meet this blind girl who is it's a blind mother who is actually not just a traveling musician. She is an assassin sent by, again, the Shogun. And it's like, yeah, she could have, in an earlier era, she could have just been like a wandering samurai, just like Mugen and Jin. Or, you know, God forbid, she could be a normal ass mother. But no, they society, the Shogun, they saw her talents for assassinating pretty much and just said, yeah, I mean, we can either use you or, like, you know, profit from your work and abilities, or we can just kill you right here and now. And we get to find out that this exact situation is exactly what happened to Jin, who, you know, we actually finally fucking find out why he killed his master at the dojo. It was because his master was sent to assassinate Jin, because Jin rejected an offer to work with the Shogun, basically directly with the not directly with the Shogun. Is, again, everything comes down to the Shogun demanding something, and like it basically trickling down through all these different people who have just been kind of indoctrinated into society. I was afraid not to get those blood hearts, goddamn. But that's essentially why he is wanted, and why he, you know, because his master at the dojo, he said, yeah, okay, I can work for the government. And Jean disagreed, so therefore, you know, Jean now knows that a certain guy within the government, he needs an assassin, and that is big, like, fucking taboo knowledge to carry around. So he basically wants him dead. And therefore, he's been framed, well, not really framed, he did kill his master, but they don't really know why, so now every one of his, like, classmates is hunting him fucking down. And his final fight is against the guy who ordered his master to kill him. The guy who actually needed... some really fucking strong guy who hasn't really been active in... you know, yet another fucking guy who has just allowed himself to be just another fucking cog in the machine. Whereas our little guys are not in the machine at all, and that's the thing. That's basically the entire thing that Samurai Champloo revolves around, is this, you know, basically the unification of a country. And like, you know, if you just join them, you can get like everything you want in life. You can get a family, you can get like secured money, you can get even like in one of the earlier episodes, that's of course not the government, that was like some fucking gang in a big city. But they had a lot of fucking power, they had a lot of money, they had like a lot of influence even over you know, political stuff, as the Yakuza also has now. But Mugen gets an offer after, like, working with them for a bit of cash. He gets an offer to join them and, like, basically take over the underworld in the entire fucking country. Take over the entire country, essentially. But Mugen rejects this because he doesn't want... he doesn't really want that. He pushes it away. And I'm still trying... that's something I'm still trying to figure out why. Like, these characters are so fucking intriguing that I don't... like, sure, you get a vibe of them, but you don't really know exactly what they are thinking. Like, you know so much about them, but you know so little about them at the same time. It's weird. But I'm expecting, at some point in the future, at some point, possibly pretty soon, I'm gonna rewatch the entire fucking thing, because this was really good. And I don't know, rewatching those, like, slice of life that becomes an actual story. I don't know, there's something about it. That's also why I need to rewatch Part 4, JoJo's Part 4. Yeah. That's the thing I need to do. Oh well. Not gonna do that. But I need to rewatch at some point just to see how they change, because essentially... okay, so let's talk about the ending, right? Because the thing about the ending is I haven't even talked about, like, the plot of the ending. The plot is not really too important. But they get hunted down by some government guys, of course, because they're all wanted by the fucking government. And it's explained that this samurai who smells of sunflowers that our normie girl Fu is after is actually her dad, who I picked up from the start that her dad killed her mom for some reason, and that's what I expected, but that apparently didn't happen. He just wandered away, because again, he is yet another side of this very many-sided coin, apparently, where he's also a samurai, right? So he started a family, he had this wonderful life, and after he got it, he went back to his samurai ways and just went to a remote, very far away island and just kind of chilled there for however many years old Fu is. I don't actually know. But for a solid, like, 15 to 20 years, I don't know, a long fucking time. And the gang, they arrive, and Fu, she starts acting, like, way weirder, somehow. It's apparent that she has changed since, you know, fucking doing business, being with the gang, being with the boys, our boys Mugen and Jin. It has changed her a lot, and it's apparent that in the end, it has also changed Mugen and Jin by being with each other. That's essentially the only reason that they win their separate fights. It's that they adopt their respective fighting styles. Jin only wins because he is very fucking reckless and just does a move that Mugen, he would have done on a fucking whim, but essentially, you know, makes an opening on purpose and it's very risky. He's about to die. I expected him to die, but apparently he didn't, and again, he could easily have died right then and there, and I would have been happy about it. But it also shows, I guess, the way that they change. Mugen, you know, he's a fucking wild fighter. I don't even fucking know. He's like my boy from Vagabond that I can't remember the name of because it's been a while since I've read Vagabond. Essentially like him, Takezo? Maybe. Something like that. Essentially like a fucking wild beast, a wild animal. And the way he wins is by, like, making this very calculated strategy that Jean would have made. By, like, you know, being on death's door as he usually is, and then... Ooh, that was a bit far down. And then, you know, using his own... his weapon... his enemy's weapon against them. Because he did... As I suspected, during the fight, he did have a little trick up his sleeve. He had like he did some stuff. He lost sometimes, and then he essentially pulled out when he was about to lose. He pulled out his like little pocket knife, and that failed him miserably. Which is why, again, a little bit later, when he was really on death's door, you know, he had that little flash again of just. You know, maybe he was about to go to heaven, but then he actually wakes up again. I thought it was, like, almost confirmed that, okay, this guy is dead when I saw, you know, essentially, again, about halfway through the show, we just get a scene from Mugen where he's literally, like, half the episode is just focused on Mugen dying. That is where the absolute biggest death flags come from, and, you know, by extension, Jean gets those death flags as well. Because you can feel that, okay, with their relationship, they are essentially gonna end up, you know, merging, not into the same person, not like at all, but you know, they have some commonalities, but they just go about it the wrong way. Essentially, they start out, like, the very fucking first scene we see them in. We see the differences between them, but they are still, like, deep down, they are still both, like, Ronin, like, wandering samurai. Just wandering aimlessly. But Jean does this out of, like, he picks a fight out of honor and, like, you know, lack of respect of, like, from the other party. Mugen, however, he just picks a fight because he can, pretty much. He just, you know, he was hungry, he wanted some dumplings. He saw that this other guy was offered some dumplings, and then he picked a fight with him. And again, they start off like this, and I expected them to end off like this. Kind of, you know, again, bittersweet that they have been through this entire journey. One of them kills the other. Maybe one of them has learned to, like, merge the two, so, like, they technically live on. That's how I expected it to end, but it didn't end like that at all. They both had, like, fake out deaths, I suppose. But it's also great because it's both of the final fights are, like, their pasts catching up to them, right? Mugen being the most interesting one here. Well, Jean, we essentially just get the backstory, and, you know, that guy who ends up, he ended up just kind of defying the government. Like, he was working for them, but he convinced himself that he was using them, even though they were basically just using each other. Like, they had common interests, right? They both wanted to kill Jean, so here they are. But he's convinced that that he pulled a fast one on them. And again, just more backstory. Again, it's good, but Mugen's is so much more interesting because it's, again, his backstory that is finally, he's trying so hard to run away from it. It's essentially the exact same thing, but it's people he has directly, you know, fucked over. Like, in his younger years, he and his quote-unquote brother, essentially the guy we meet in the Mugen's flashback episode about halfway through, that just pulls him down the exact same path. Surprise, he did the exact same thing, like 10 years ago, and he basically asked Mugen for help and set him up. So the first time is when Mugen is caught and is sentenced to death by essentially the island guards, I suppose. And the second time being, you know, in the current story where he is, you know, they, god damn it, I did this wrong, god damn it. In the first one, in the backstory, I should say, they go to a cargo ship filled with sugar, and they just need to plunder it because, you know, they need some money, they need some cash to stay alive. And in this little scuffle they have with a merchant ship, or it's actually a government ship, that's the point, is that they come across some guys that they fucking beat up, and, you know, in the backstory, you don't think about that at all. It's just some random fucking guys. But in the actual, you know, the final fucking villains are 3 brothers who have been majorly fucked over, and because they failed this mission of Mugen's, they aren't allowed to work at the government anymore, which is essentially what. Okay, goofy jump. I shouldn't have. Shit. Yeah, I was unfocused. God damn it. I'm gonna die here. Okay, shit. Yeah, I'm severely cooked. Why did it have to be a fucking aspid? That was the one thing it couldn't have been. God damn it. Fuck. To speedrun recap, Mugen's, you know, the first time around, they fucked up some guys, and they come back as the main villains, right? The second time around, when he gets set up by his boy, he has this, like, whole fake out death, and again, his boy, you know, with the help of Jean, they, basically Jean alone, fucking cuts this guy's fucking stomach open. And then there's just a scene in my head that I completely forgot. Afterwards, some girl from this makes way more sense if you've seen the scene. I'm just yapping into nothingness at this point. I can talk about it later if I get some actual insight on this. Yeah, Mugen, again, this fight is just about, like, how do you accept this fucking, this change that that is being forced upon you, because his guys, his enemies are just out for revenge, pretty much. Like, their entire shitty lives, they say shitty lives, and it's pretty fascinating how they save shitty lives, because it shows that, okay, they get to work like in the government, with the government, to hunt down Mugen, but in the end their lives are still shitty. This is not what they want. They just want to be wandering around aimlessly. God damn it. I lost my fucking train of thought. I hate Collector. Collector is ass. I am tired. I will be back tomorrow to hopefully yap some more about this show. It was fucking great. Still, Samurai Champloo, probably a solid, like, 9 out of 10. Pretty fucking good. I will be back. See you tomorrow.